outcome at the G7 of discussions around Ukraine? What would you like to see?
So my view is, and I've said this consistently, is that we, the West, Canada and the West, need to be supporting the Ukrainian people until they achieve a full victory. Which means...
But do you sense there's that kind of a consensus? Like, going in, not everybody has, for example, the capacity Canada has to seize assets and give over revenue. So, like, do you see that there's going to be some kind of action come out of it? Is there something you want to see?
It's hard for me to prognosticate what will come out of the G7.
Sure.
I wish I knew, but that's the advocacy that I'm doing. Not just because it's the right thing to do for Ukrainians, because I believe if Ukraine's victory is vital to Canada's security. So if Russia wins, or if Russia retains the territory it has, if Russia's successful in Ukraine, or in negotiating a peace that does not ensure security guarantees for Ukraine, then we will see Russia invading Ukraine again, we'll see Russia invading other NATO countries, and then Canadians will be on the front lines helping our NATO partners defend themselves, or we'll be on the front lines defending our own Arctic from the Russians or from others. No. Wait. So we either pay a small price now to oppose the sanctions, to give Ukraine the military aid it needs, the financial aid it needs, the diplomatic aid it needs, or we pay a much bigger price later in terms of our own sovereignty and the lives of our own men and women.
Given that there's so many world leaders and the G7 leaders are all there and the European leaders, what do you think success would look like on Ukraine coming out of that summit?
I think for me, a consensus to support Ukraine with all of the aid, military, financial, diplomatic, and sanction packages that Ukraine is asking for to help it defend itself and hopefully achieve victory. But even to negotiate a peace, Putin doesn't want peace. He's shown that. And so the only way Putin's going to want to agree to a ceasefire and to a peace is if he feels as though he's losing.
What the hell are you talking about?
Otherwise, he'll continue advancing. We need to provide Ukraine with the support so it's in a stronger negotiating position to achieve that.
And there's so many other people coming and so many other agendas, it seems, at play there, including, Mexico's coming, Saudi Arabia's coming, India's coming. Yeah. Does that dilute the agenda? Does that take a focus off Ukraine? Or do you think that they have any role to play in some of these big topics?
I actually think it could be an advantage.
Why?
Because I think the more players, a lot of those countries you name, each one has a unique position, but a lot of them, the more countries, especially leading countries in the world, are involved in discussions on Ukraine, the better. So I think, even for the sake of resolving this issue, I think it's to the advantage of Canada and to our allies and to the Ukrainians. Obviously, it depends what comes out of that discussion.
Right, but going into it, Trump has made pretty clear that, he's working directly with Russia without Ukraine's necessarily voice at the table or at those direct discussions. What do you make of that?
Well, I think some of the positions that Donald Trump has taken are not only compromising Ukraine's position, but I think they're compromising Canada's national security. And I think that's precisely why we need to continue to support the Ukrainians.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
The aid that they need.
Specifically what in terms of Canada's national security? I'm not sure I follow what you mean there.
Yeah, I think my view is that if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, that compromises Canada's national security because Russia won't stop at Ukraine.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
And so we know that because Vladimir Putin has said so in the past. And so that means that he could invade a NATO ally. We've heard the NATO Secretary General and European leaders talking about the need to prepare for a ground war with Russia within the next 5 years. So if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, that makes that more likely and more likely to happen faster. If that happens, we as a NATO partner are going to be required to support our NATO allies. We share thousands of kilometers of border with the Russians in the Arctic, and we need to be conscious of that fact. If we're going to protect our own sovereignty and we allow the Russians to succeed in Ukraine, we know that Putin has imperialist ambitions elsewhere. In the past, Putin has claimed parts of the Canadian Arctic as Russian territory. So we need to be prepared for the fact that we need to protect our own sovereignty and the sovereignty of our NATO allies. And so success in Ukraine for Russia is bad for Canada.
So getting to 2% in our defense spending, I take it you approve of that, but what about this notion that NATO allies may agree on a 5% target? Is that something that you think Canada actually should support?
I think what we need to do in terms of setting our target is we shouldn't be sending, I think the number should be set based on what we need to invest to protect our own security.
Right.
And I think there has to be a rigorous assessment of what that number is. The Prime Minister has said that he believes that at the current point in time, that 2%, meeting that 2% is what we need, and I have full confidence in his judgment on that. And we'll see what discussions come out of the NATO on that. But I do think we need to be prepared for further national security risks from Russia and from others. And I would say that, you know, the increase in spending from where it is today on defense to the 2% that is a substantial new investment in resources. And I think that shows that our government and Mr. Carney is committed to this issue of addressing not only the spending gap with our NATO partners, but actually substantively securing Canada's borders.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Look, that's a question. That's a question for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's invited a number of world leaders to the G7, and I think that Canada's committed. Mr. Carney's committed that we are going to lead, and I think that's what he's doing.
Thank you.